twin jet occurred in a review.
He's a very conscientious person, and I feel very sad.
Right.
When this happens.
And of course, we can only imagine the emotions that are going through within that aviation fraternity, if you will. So perhaps, to the average layman, now they've mentioned that, can you maybe give us a better idea of what the general consensus, or what the mood, the feeling that's going on, that's reverberating throughout the airline industry? Because, just by way of context, we have tried to reach out to many of your peers, be it on the engineering side, pilots, and they seem to be clamming up in a way, because they're still, I guess it really hits home, given that this has happened really, really unexpectedly. I guess any crash is unexpected. So perhaps you can give us some insight, some ideas, as to, what that community is feeling right now.
I would say this for sure. There are more talented people who can come and sit here in my place and tell you a better airline. Okay. I know that.
We'll have to take your word for it. Yes. Okay.
But they are also covered by their employment acts, their requirements, their terms and conditions, where they cannot speak to the media for obvious reasons. Because 10 pilots and 10 engineers may give you divergent and may eventually confuse, because they are all experts with various opinions. Okay. So you may have a problem trying to understand or trying to, one may be more technical than the other. One may be able to relate to you, but he may not be giving you good facts, but he relates to you very well, so you tend to take what he is telling you. Another one will be boring and very, very structured, but he may be accurate. So I think MAS is doing the right thing in telling their people, hang on, we have a media group inside MAS. There is a senior vice president of communications, highly paid to do this kind of job. So I'm sure they have their communicative strategies. One. Right. Number two, of course, the aeroplane flew with 8 hours of fuel on a 6-hour flight, which means that it can stay in the air no longer than 9:45 this morning. It must be somewhere on the surface of the earth already. It could be safely crash landing deep in the jungle, no contact. The most ideal situation. It could have ditched, and people are floating around in life raft. Another most ideal situation. But it could result in something less appealing, for want of a better word. So, the airline, before it confirms things, now it's been a few hours already, right? So, people are beginning to talk. Conspiracy, all this will start coming up. Yes. Then you have experts, so-called experts, coming out of the woodwork. But one thing I know for certain, the responsibility of a large corporation like an airline like MAS is to the passengers' next of kin. So if you're the next of kin, you would not want to hear second-hand news on a train going to the airport, the plane has crashed and your son has died. So I think MAS, in their strategy correctly, they are trying to gather as many of the relatives together, put them in a controlled environment. Perhaps have psychologists and doctors along with them. I'm assuming this. Well, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, well, they actually have about 10 counselors there.
Yes, they have counselors, they have team members to help and all that. They have refreshments, even minor details like smelling salts and all that will be in place. Right, nurses and all that, before they actually divulge the news. Then and only then they can just say that this is a situation that has happened. Right.
So, and I guess it's important to be reminded as well that these large corporations really are just made up of human beings just like you and me, people.
Oh, yes.
And, now, so bringing it down to the personal level, I know it's been a tough day for you, and as I can imagine for the next of kin, loved ones, as well as those in the industry. Tell us, how have you been coping? How have you been managing to cope?
Well, that's the four things when the disaster happened, disbelief, denial, anger, and then all this, and then resignation. Okay, I give up. It's happened. So I would be exaggerating if I say that I'm as affected as someone who's working in MAS. But I would say that I'm a true blue MAS. I may be away from it, but in the 30 years of my life in MAS, it's given me everything I have. Even my wife was a stewardess. That came from MAS as well. So I owe the company a lot. And MAS has some tough times from the results that are fairly obvious. But that's another matter altogether. Right now, I think that they are all busy closing ranks. Be it management, ground worker and all that, you realize that you're one family and you've got only yourself to uphold the reputation of your airline, which if handled badly could be in tatters. Crashes has closed airlines before. Pan America, one crash in Lockerbie, kaput, after 50 years of business. I think Swiss Air also. So I think as far as MAS people are concerned, I think they have to put their emotion aside and look forward towards how to handle the relatives, how to make the best of this bad situation so that MAS comes out of it unscathed. Right. I believe these people there, they know what they're doing.
Indeed. Well, and definitely at this point in time, I think it's definitely important to note that as members of MAS, or members of the MAS family are starting to, make sense of all this and trying to pull themselves through. Just be aware, if you're watching this right now, that we here at NTV7, as well as Malaysians at large, we are all there with you in spirit, and we're definitely sending out our thoughts and prayers to your loved ones. So please bear that in mind. If we may just shift gears now, going back to perhaps more the technical, technical matter. So now it was reported that the aircraft's emergency locator transmitters were triggered. In layman terms, what does that mean?
Okay. Emergency, times of emergency, locator to locate, a transmitter, it sends out the signal. Very simple. Okay, there are two carried on the aircraft.
Okay.
There are two. One is fixed in the aircraft itself, and it triggers on impact. At a predetermined impact, so many G-force, which is calculated to be a kind of a crash. And then there is something that hits, and then it will send a signal on a frequency of 1 to 1.5 megahertz.
Okay.
Okay.
Layman terms.
Like FM frequency, 127.
Okay.
Okay. For the aviation, they are from 118 right up to 135 something.
Okay.
So these are the aviation band, and each one has a frequency.
Right.
1 to 1.5 is reserved purely for emergency frequency. So what happens is, the beacon will start sending a kind of signal, whoop, 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 a whooping signal or a screaming signal, which any aircraft in the vicinity, when you tune to 1 to 1.5, it will come in through your headphone.
Okay.
And it also acts as a homing device. So when you have one or two aeroplanes, they can triangulate the position and home into where the box is. The box may be detached from the aeroplane. Parts of the aeroplane may be somewhere else. But now they have a general area that they can draw a circle of action, a combat circle of action of how they're going to do their search and rescue. Okay, that's one. Number two, better news. If it is the second transmitter that is triggered, there are transmitters on the life raft.
Okay.
Which means the life raft was launched. And that requires manual activation, which means people are alive to trigger that. So there are two types carried on jetliners that flies over the ocean.
Okay. Now, so during my course of research, I understand that these two ELTs actually act independently, of course.
Oh, yeah, independently. They act independently.
Right. Now, are these, as I understand it, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, these two ELTs are different from the black box.
Oh, the black box is totally different.
So is it safe to say then that there are three signals being emitted?
No, okay. Some of the black boxes have their own emitting signal, which may not be as powerful as the one carried on the ELT, because the ELT is a dedicated device. Okay. Basically, to tell people, look, I'm here. Okay, don't go anywhere else, I'm here. Come on to me and rescue me. Okay. The black box, the ELT, if there is one, because some aeroplanes do not have this, some aeroplanes may have this. It's not mandatory. Oh. As far as I know, in the years I fly, rules could have changed. It may be mandatory now. So they have a locator so that it's easier for you to find the black box. Okay. The black box is flame orange in color. It is not black. Right. And it contains, on the 777, it has something like maybe hundreds of parameters. Okay. It will record how fast, how high, the direction, the amount of lateral forces, the G forces. It feels in various axes. The steering angle, how much steering input was put in, how much movement of the surfaces of the wings, like the flaps and all that, whatever the setting, whether the landing gear is down and all that, all these things are recorded continuously in the flight data recorder. And if it is in good condition, then they will be able to decipher this. In fact, they are able sometimes, on the later ones, they're able to actually play back in the simulator, where you have a chilling sight of what exactly happened to the aeroplane as you sit and play back the whole thing in the simulator. So I think the one in MAS, MRO, is would be, I think, the 11th or the 14th aeroplane. So it's quite young in the 777 fleet. It started MRA, B, C, D, E until O. So O is 11 years, which to me is just getting maturity for an airline. Because typically we use these aeroplanes for about 25 years. Okay. Yeah. With good maintenance, it lasts 30 years. No problem.
So really, it's not even halfway through its lifespan.
No, it's not even halfway. And this aircraft is babied. MAS basically over maintains the aircraft. Yeah.
But when you use the term maturity, what are some telltale signs really? I mean, aside from the number, because it seems that, in the case where MAS over-babies those planes, but yet, what then are some indicators that a plane has reached maturity? What do you mean by that?
Okay, I mean, it's just a word I coined, maturity, just colloquially so. But basically, it reaches half-life about 15 years. Okay. So maturity about 10 to 11 years, half-life about 15 years. And these aeroplanes, under our aviation rules, again, it may have changed, but as far as I remember, what it does is every 20,000 hours, full teardown. Okay. Or 6 years, whichever comes first. By full teardown, you strip the aeroplane right down to the last nut, and we have the capability of doing that in our own hangar. And then rebuild it. And then rebuild it again, new paint and everything. Some things are live items, like seat tracks and all that, is on condition basis. But some things, even if it looks good, by law it says change it. Okay. So you change it. Right. This is why your tickets are pretty expensive, because of these regulatory requirements. So 6 years, 20,000 miles, 20,000 hours, flying hours, whichever comes first. You hit 20,000 first, you do that. You hit 6 years first, you do that. These are not hard and fast rules. They are just rough guides for me. An engineer will be able to tell you better. But it won't stray away too far from what I'm telling you. Okay. Then there are regular checks. Check A, B, C, D. They are overnight checks. So it's being checked all the time. And then the final deal, the pilot actually does a walk around to satisfy himself. Walk around the aeroplane. Occasionally you will see that. It is not mandatory. Okay. But some pilots feel like, especially if it's the first flight of the day, for that particular aeroplane that he has not flown for some time. Let's say he comes to work and he's been on leave for 2 weeks. Aeroplane just came in from London. He takes over another pilot. The pilot would basically, if they meet each other, tell you, hey, this plane a bit sengit, this adjustment you do. They'll pass the news around. Then they have a record book, which is a legal document. You cannot fool around with it, And whatever the problem is with the aeroplane is written there. And there is also, whatever is written, an engineer has to clear off. Bulb fused, bulb replaced. Landing gear shimmy, landing gear replaced. That sort of thing. They will have that. Some items can be carried to another flight. Like you have 100 bulbs, 2 bulbs are dead. You just write down and engineer say, we'll repair next flight. So everything is documented. The pilot is fully aware of the plane's health prior to taking a flight. Right. Yeah. And that certainly is comforting to hear you say all that, because again, these kinds of information is definitely not being made aware to the public, and it's only brought to light under the such tragic circumstances. It's rather unfortunate, but that is the position that we find ourselves in right now. Yeah. Now I hear you say all this, but yet, as we ran in the story earlier, we can't help, as the average layman and many netizens out there as well, we can't help but find this uncanny trend, given this incident, given the Asiana Airlines incident last year, and also the British Airways landing gear fault. What are we supposed to make? Okay. Hold on. Perhaps hold on to that thought. I understand that we will be crossing over to a live press conference right now. Go ahead.
Our search bigger now, and if we need to get help from the Indonesia, we will do that. But now belum lagi.
So, do you hear of any from U.S. military in Thailand that they received a SOS call? Do you hear about that?
We never hear about that, but the U.S. authority have volunteered to send one aircraft to do search together with our aircraft, and we are coordinating with them. So that they're more effective. Yeah. They will report on all the found somewhere in no, that's not confirmed yet. That's not confirmed yet.
Have at least the Vietnamese authorities informed you about this recovery?
No.
They have not informed.
Yes, I read from the news. From the news, the media. But there is no official. No official.
Have you asked them?
Yes, we asked them.
And they haven't replied.
They haven't replied yet. There's no reply yet.
So, for your information, the search is still going on even at night time, and we are deployed our aircraft to do it until now.
So how difficult is it at night?
it's night, malam, even pagi tadi pun kita tak gerakkan station rescue bila tak siang lagi. So how difficult it will be?
Aircraft that we deploy for night search are well equipped with night capabilities, night search capabilities. So yes, it is not easy, but it is possible with a proper night equipment or the night system that can be done.
Is there any commitment by your side, sir, that you will continue with the search and rescue mission non-stop for maybe at least 48 hours, 36 hours?
This is our commitment. The search will go around the clock, and until the decision made that the search to be called off. But at this point of time, our assets been prepared, and in fact, as we speak now, there are a few aircraft doing search and rescue. Search over the sea.
Can you just confirm? Is it because the Vietnamese authorities say that we lost contact just before the plane entered Vietnamese airspace? So is the plane lost in Malaysian airspace or Vietnamese airspace? Can you just clarify that?
When we lost the contact of radar airspace, it was a bin area called Igari. That's border of the airspace line to divide the responsibility of Vietnam to the north and Malaysia to the south. So we lost the contact at that particular place. So wherever the aircraft, we don't know. This is where the search is been done in that particular area this morning. Expanded it bigger area in the afternoon and a bigger area by tomorrow morning.
So that means, you're not sure whether it lost in Vietnamese airspace or Malaysian airspace.
Because if we are sure, we will.
Because we cannot detect the aircraft. So, but we are very sure that the disappearance will be around on the sea. It won't on the land.
Okay, I got to repeat again. The Vietnamese authority is doing the search in their area, and we are doing search on our area. Like we have
Yes. The Italian media is reporting that someone whose name is on the manifest, Luigi Moraldi, says that his passport was stolen. He is currently in Bangkok. Do you have any news about that?
No, we don't need any.
Basically, we have it, but that one still under the authority, and we don't know the individual.
And can you tell us how much is being done to search the CCTV footage in the airport here and look at the records of the baggage that went in? I mean, people are suspecting foul play because it was such a sudden disappearance of the aircraft. How much are you checking on this side?
On the security side, I think we cannot reveal too much. This is security, but rest assured that we have relooked at the CCTV. We have relooked at all the recording pertaining to the baggage of the passengers on board the aircraft, and so far we are satisfied. We cannot reveal too much on aviation security. That you have to respect that.
Since the Italian passport was stolen, so does it mean that it could also mean that some terrorism is involved because someone's passport was stolen and they boarded the plane using the stolen passport?
I think these are reports, and this report we need to basically confirm. Okay. So as far as we're concerned, right now, it's just a report. And I know the authorities, we are working with all the embassies, looking at the foreign embassies, to ensure that, we can confirm the report. We must realize on this incident, of this flight 370, there's a lot of speculation that has begun very, very early this morning. And every speculation was squashed. So we seem to be living by speculation now. So I think let's leave the authorities to do its work.
So can we say that you're ruling out any possibility of terrorism?
We're not ruling out anything.
We are not ruling out anything.
So many hours, but no any authorities confirm that they receive any rescue signal or SOS signal. No any authorities receive.
No, we don't receive any. Okay. Just for an announcement. The next press conference will be 9 o'clock tomorrow morning here. But if there's any development in this incident, we will call the meeting immediately in this room. We give you 1 hour notice. So if not, we will see you 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, certainly some food for thought there, given that press conference. Captain, we heard that loud and clear. They are not ruling out any possibilities. So, I mean, it's been over a dozen hours now. I can't quite do the math now. My brain's a bit woozy. But why so much uncertainty? It seems, given that press conference just now, they are still, if I may use the word, apprehensive to confirm anything. Now, according to my producers, they just told me that apparently other governments have already used the term crash.
Yeah.
Why the apprehension on their part?
Clearly, because the other governments, they're not stakeholders. We are the stakeholders of our country. We are stakeholders. The management is stakeholder for MAS. The DCA is a stakeholder for the integrity of aviation services in this country. So we cannot simply tembak as we like. I mean, it's so sensational. It's just a plane crash, It's very sensational, and everybody wants to jump over each other with the reports. But they basically, if they do something wrong, they just put a small paragraph and say, reported in error. They have to answer to no one. But at this particular moment, we, MES and all that, still has a business to continue. The aviation integrity of how we handle our distress issues and all that, we are being looked at by the overseas people. So I think at this particular moment, I sympathize with the management and with the DCA people, because essentially they've got a lot of baggage on their back.
Indeed.
As far as this responsibility is concerned. But what we know is very, very clear. The aeroplane is on the surface of the earth somewhere. That we know. The aeroplane departed its planned flight path, suddenly, with no report from the pilot. That we know for sure. Now that says that there is some form of catastrophic failure. One of it is maybe total electrical blackout. Highly unlikely. In your car, you have an alternator. The engine runs the alternator, that runs all your lights and all the aircon. Alternator fail, you got no lights. You park the car at the side of the road, call a mechanic. In the aeroplane, they have, one engine has 2 alternators. The other engine has another 2 alternators. Then on the tail, you have a spare engine that runs purely alternators. This is the one, when you're on the ground, both the engines are not alive, are dead. But you still have electricity and you still have aircon. Because you have a small little jet engine on the tail called an auxiliary power unit. It sucks in air and gives you aircon, and a shaft turns the generator and gives you electricity. That helps you start the plane. Okay? Then there's another one. It's called a battery reserve. So even without all the alternators, you have sufficient battery to sustain lighting for important instruments and flight controls for at least 30 to 45 minutes, minimum 30 minutes. Then on top of that, you have a ram air turbine. Inside the belly of a plane, if these things happen, it automatically deploys. It hangs underneath, the propeller comes out, and the wind turns the propeller, which turns the generator, that lights up the plane. So there are 6 layers of redundancy for an electrical fault to manifest itself into what they call a total catastrophe. Highly unlikely, but the word is highly unlikely, not totally impossible. Highly unlikely. Then there is, it's not unknown for aeroplanes to break apart in flight. Due to adverse weather and all that. This has happened. 707 over Mount Fuji hit clear air turbulence and broke to pieces. Another 737 or 707, that was 707. The 737 over Taipei years ago broke apart and fell to pieces, fell to the ground in turbulence. And then a very dramatic one was the Aloha Airlines 737 that tore the first class roof. But it landed safely, although a few passengers got blown out of the aeroplane. And that actually became a movie. But that's real. So it is not unknown for a plane to have this sort of structural failure in a flight.
Well,
unlikely.
Right, unlikely.
Unlikely.
Well, it's definitely interesting that they are telling all these. I guess, safe to say, despite all these technological advancements, all these safety features, redundancies, backup systems, really, every time you take a flight, you're at the mercy of the elements then, huh?
There's this thing called luck and providence.
Wow.
That you can only prepare so much in a flight. And I think MAS, before the departure of every flight, I can't speak for other airlines, I don't work for them.
Right.
But MAS, before the departure of every flight, everything goes through a fine tooth comb. There are hundreds of people working in unison to result in a successful departure and arrival of an aeroplane.
Right.
And this is indeed a mystery. Why an aeroplane can just disappear at a flash?
Right, indeed a mystery, and at this point in time it seems that we are left with more questions than answers. But we'll hope to bring you more updates, and any information that we can share with you, we will. So stay tuned right here to NTV7. Time now for a short break. We'll be right back. Of each passenger to the location where the aircraft was last detected. At the same time, Malaysia's Social Welfare Department is providing 10 counsellors to try and calm down family members of the passengers. The passengers included 153 nationals from China, 38 from Malaysia, 7 Indonesians, 6 Australians, 5 from India, 4 from France, 3 Americans, 2 each from from New Zealand, Ukraine, Canada, 1 each from Russia, Italy, the Netherlands, and Austria.
No news, no nothing, so still waiting after how many, more than 12 hours, still no news, so a bit worried.
Now we can only imagine what the family and relatives of the passengers of flight MH370 are going through. Now, as reported earlier, the family members are already being provided counseling if needed. 10 Welfare Department counsellors have been deployed. MAS has also dispatched its GO team to Beijing, together with a team of volunteers and caregivers to assist the family members there. Now, as the families wait for news on their loved ones, it is important that they receive the right support. How important is this psychological and emotional support? On the line to tell us more about that, we have Datin Dr. Aminah Hashim, a practicing counsellor with Bright Consulting. Hi, Datin.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, first question here. How would counsellors really handle a situation like this?
Okay, this is a crisis situation, and the family members are very much traumatized. We need to intervene, and the family members need to be understood. The first step you take is to form a relationship, which is called a helping relationship, so that the family members will feel safe. In the crisis intervention, it is very important that we stay calm, we are supportive, we are caring, because they are in need of a lot of emotional support.
Okay. Now, well, that certainly sounds like a tough job on the part of counsellors. But really, at a time like this, where do you draw that line between giving them false hope and just providing them support? Where do you draw that line?
No, the situation is so critical and acute for them. Whatever you do, the first thing you have to do is to make them calm. We don't give them false hope, but once they are calm and they are there's a state of emotional equilibrium, you call it, then we begin to tell them very, very caringly, very, very slowly, whatever the situation is, even though it means it's a painful situation for them. But it has to be very, very calmly, talk to them calmly. And form good relationship with the family members. So they will not be so overwhelmed. You need a counselor that is calm, that is not overwhelmed by the situation, the crisis situation itself.
Right. Now, given what you just said there, really, in your estimation, in your experience, in your line of work, really, how far, really, how effective can these counseling sessions really be effective for the next of kin? Because I guess I'm only just trying to imagine, because right now that's all I can do right now. I can just try to imagine what they're going through, the grief, as I'm sure most of Malaysia is doing right now. We can only just sympathize and empathize, but that, I mean, to the layman, to somebody like myself, perhaps I'm just, ignorant like that, and perhaps you can enlighten me on this. I mean, how far really can that, what is the effectiveness there?
Oh, it is, because you see, when you are traumatized, you have lost all your coping mechanism, all your coping skills.
Right.
Yes, that's, and therefore you just don't know what to do. So, very importantly, the counselors must intervene and be genuine and very be empathy at the same time. Mm-hmm. And if the counselor intervenes with very drastic measures and tell them in a very aggressive way or aggressive strategies, they are going to get worse.
Right. Now, perhaps maybe you can mention some active steps, really. Now, you mentioned keeping calm and trying to build a relationship. Well, perhaps you can maybe elaborate on more active steps that your counselors or counselors in general can take when counseling those affected by this crisis.
Yeah, when you are actually facing the family members and you have formed the relationship, helping relationship, making them calm and, making them feel safe, they will come down and you need to assess each one properly. How far is the severity of the situation for each of them? Sometimes, when people are traumatized like this, they are quite suicidal. They can be very, very aggressive and suicidal and just do not know what to do. They can be aggressive and they can be lost control. For instance, they've lost control. So that's right. You need to assess the situation, and if it needs be, you need to have them to have psychiatric or any form of medical help. If they need medical attention, you have to provide them. And then, of course, you also need to assess whether they have support system. Like, do they have people that they can go to, their loved ones, in their own environment? Do they have a friend, a family member, another family member that are forever supportive and looking after them?
Right. Well, safe to say, in Malaysian aviation history, we have not seen anything to this magnitude ever before. So really, given your experience with the counseling community, give us an idea of how well equipped are the counselors here in Malaysia for a crisis of this magnitude?
Well, we do have many trained counselors in the private and in the public sector. Of course, the Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat has a team of counselors. We have not experienced in our country crisis like this, Like, for instance, we do have, for instance, the hijacked cases of the ship, and then we have the Lahat Datu event situation, and we have mobilized our counselors to help. So, but to say they are very experienced, that actually is not right. But we have not had the chance to actually to do crisis intervention as much as one would expect. I mean, because we don't have that many crises,
Right, indeed.
Yeah.
But then perhaps you can maybe paint us a picture then when it comes to crisis intervention. It seems to be a keyword there in your industry. Then what other scenarios have they been prepared for? Do you have any examples that come right off the top of your head?
I don't understand your question.
Because now, when it comes to crisis intervention, what exactly? Because we have established that something like this doesn't. We have well, at least these councils are not exactly prepared for something like this. So, what else then falls under the crisis intervention? Give us some idea here.
Okay. Okay. Other than the councillors, we do have the NGOs who are actually very alert to help in such situations. I think we cannot now do it like individually or only a small groups of NGOs or people to help. I think the whole team must really go out now to help.
Right.
All these counsellors. We need everybody. We need counsellors. We need para-counsellors. We need psychiatric help. We need doctors. We need everybody, because these family members, you cannot imagine how traumatized they are.
Right.
So we can address their emotions. We can address their emotions, but we have also to address their physical. They can be upset to an extent that they can be sick, and they would need medical attention. They would need psychiatric help. So in this situation, we do the best we can. Everybody must help. Everybody must team up and help.
Indeed, as you say, everybody must help. Everyone must play their part. So safe to say, this definitely involves a wider community here. And I can only imagine that such an event like this will obviously have repercussions in the long term, perhaps even forever. In the event that this turns into a very dire situation and the worst happens, how then are counsellors then to react to the remaining loved ones?
You see, counsellors also, we do not have crisis intervention counsellors as such, specialized in that area. I mean, there are very few, but we do have general counsellors who does everything, marriage counsellors, student counselling, and all that, But I think with crisis like this, I think we grow as we experience, we experience crisis and we get better.
Sure.
So hopefully, I'm not saying that we hope we have more crises. No, but I think this is the opportunity for counsellors to actually go out there and be on the field and help and experience and get better.
Right. Now, also addressing the wider community here. I think every Malaysian has a part to play in this.
Yes.
Not your friends, family, everyone that these family members may come into contact with from the hereafter. So maybe perhaps you can share with us one advice, if we do have the chance, or really how can we help? Because really it's such a helpless situation right now. What can we play? I mean, what part can we play? In the aftermath.
In a situation like this, the most important thing is if you do have somebody who's gone through such crisis, the most important thing is to listen, to learn to listen, and be with them. That's the most important thing. This is grief, this is bereavement, this is something which is happened to a person, that they have lost all their resources and they've lost all their coping skills. So they do need people. They do need Malaysians. This is the time that Malaysians must come out and actually help, volunteer to help, go there and help.
Well, thank you so much for those, for that rally cry there. Thank you so much for your time there, Datin Dr. Aminah Hashim. Listen, learn, be with them. Those are certainly some key things that we can take away from that conversation there with Dr. Aminah. Thank you again so much. Now, MAS has released the names of passengers on the missing MH370. According to MAS, it has contacted the relatives of all the missing passengers, hence the release of the passengers manifest. The aircraft was carrying 227 passengers, including 2 infants, as well as 12 crew members. There were 14 nationalities on board, 152 from China, 38 Malaysians, 12 Indonesians, as well as several other nationalities. MAS has opened assembly for the relatives at the KLIA and Beijing airports. And certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to every single one of those names listed on that screen right there. Now, moving on. Now, according to Reuters, Chinese family members of passengers on the missing flights have accused the airline of keeping them in the dark.
他说是7号的飞机，我不知道他是7号什么时间，我以为是7号多少天的飞机，你现在回来的时候是多少天飞机？哎，我一直都不知道。这是他们在新加坡，其他工作人才跟我说，就是那个他知道他坐上飞机回来，那个飞机出事了，才知道。
Two-thirds of the missing passengers were from China, while others were from other countries in Asia, North America, and Europe. So we're joined again by Dato Captain Nick Hussain. Now, before the break, we had a press conference where it was the possibility was raised. Well, the word used was terrorists, alluding to that misplaced passport, and coupled by the fact that then the official then said they are not ruling out any possibilities. Really, is terrorism a viable, motive for this entire episode?
Well, the aircraft suffered a catastrophic failure at some stage. The pilots had no time to contact anyone. So it hints at some form of breakage of the aeroplane, or as we discussed earlier, total electrical blackout, which is highly, highly unlikely given the redundancies of the system. I think they're very wise in not ruling out anything. They cannot rule out anything. But as far as terrorism is concerned, Malaysia is a very low-threat country. We offend no one. We do not have a mantra to stand on. We're just a little country of our own trying to get things going, doing the best thing for the rakyat. I would like to think that, So, while it can be a possibility, it is again highly unlikely. Mainly because there's no agenda. There's nothing to prove. Terrorists will do something for a mission, to cry, to shout something, to threaten you, to hint to you that, look, I can do more, so listen to me. But we're not in that situation. So whilst they are wise in not ruling it out, I think it is highly unlikely.
Well, it certainly seems like we're grasping at straws here, but we are appreciative that you are here to just try to help better prepare us really to face whatever the outcome might be, the final outcome. Now, earlier also, we were mentioning how the authorities here in Malaysia have been apprehensive about using the term crash. Why is that? What does that actually signal, really?
I mean, okay, once you say that crash, there is the possibilities of confirmation of death or injury, and this means responsibility to the next of kin. So I believe, again, their corporate responsibility is to make sure that the stakeholders, the next of kin, are the first to hear the news. Not through Facebook, not through another third party, not through irresponsible statement to say that aeroplane has crashed. The next of kin could be on a bus from Alusa coming to KLIA already. Hears on the radio, might get hysterical. So I think it's wise to have them in a confined environment, a controlled environment, with counsellors and all that in place, and teams to help them through this very, very difficult period. So I think that's why they're very, very cautious. Another thing is this. In order for you to determine that the crash has happened under these kind of circumstances, you may want to actually find or recover a significant amount of debris. Chances are some of the debris may be found by the Navy, may be found by even fishermen, and they're not experts in the field. So a piece of an aeroplane could have dropped off, but it is not fatal to the aeroplane. The aeroplane could have flown on, and this has happened before. Cowlings have dropped off and all that. So obviously they need some form of expert identification, one, to see that this wreckage is from Boeing 777, and it is from that Boeing 777. So that is why I can understand how cautious they are. Again, people overseas, they can say anything. Just as another plane crashes in another country, our news can say crash. But we are stakeholders, or rather DCA and all that, they are stakeholders. They have to be a little bit more responsible, a little bit more certain.
No, taking one step further, like we mentioned earlier, there are certain parties in Vietnam who have confirmed that they have found an oil trail, which they say, I believe the wording was, that's consistent with an oil trail that will be left behind by a falling aircraft, something to that effect. How do we put that into context here? Are we to take that seriously, or does it happen all the time?
No, an oil trail could be from a ship that's passing by with a leaking fuel. So you need to really certify that that is actually Jet A1, the kind of aviation fuel that's used by aeroplane. So I don't know who actually discovered the oil trail. So again, an expert must be there to confirm that the oil trail is linked to that aeroplane. Furthermore, oil trail will also mean debris. Now, there are, almost 320 seats in that aeroplane, all of them with foam covers. And these foam covers float. You know your seat that you sit on, the seat backs, they are attached by Velcro. And in a catastrophic crash, these things will detach and will float on the water. So there will be debris that will be floating on the water. There could be soundproofing material that's torn apart, all that. So these are the certain criteria before they decide that, okay, a plane has crashed.
And perhaps here's another technicality that perhaps you can help us better understand. There seems to be some doubts, or rather, the unwillingness to really confirm whether this took place in Vietnamese airspace or Malaysian airspace. Why the doubt there? When really, because we already know at this point in time, this search and rescue operation involves the Chinese, the Vietnamese, U.S. Navy sent over, a plane from Singapore has been sent over as well. So really, are borders really that big of a matter right now?
Yes, it is. Because, the reason is this. The aircraft that bring the search and rescue, they're all military aircraft. Okay, so Malaysia would be a bit jumpy if a military aircraft from another country is doing search and rescue in our airspace. So there must be some form of coordination with regards to the registration, where the aeroplane lands and all that. Because, just because it's a crash, suddenly all the rules are broken. No, there are still rules there. And then, okay, it's a Malaysian registered aircraft to a Malaysian registered company. An incident that happens in a foreign land, the aircraft is built by America. Boeing.
Right.
So all these people, they are various responsibilities that is almost sovereign in nature. So that is why the airspace of incident is fairly crucial to this. At this particular moment, mainly because, look, can I send my plane to look for a crash? No, I've got my ship already there. You don't send your plane. These things do happen.
Right. Well, I guess from where I'm standing, it almost seems like a trivial matter, really, when we're talking about human life at stake here. And here we are talking about sovereignty and, whose territory is this. Really, can we not set aside, all of that for now, given the bigger priority now of finding human lives?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but such is life,
Such is the current state of
It's sovereign requirements sometimes override many things. So these are sovereign.
So I guess, it's almost like we cannot run away from politics now, can we?
Remember that area or areas close to that are still widely disputed, the spread list, which is just an hour's flight away. China says it's ours, Vietnam says it's ours. So these sort of things do have a hinge. Do have a hinge on and their concerns with regards to having people freely flying into your sovereign. So I guess I can understand their concern. But obviously when things become clearer and they know that an incident has happened, confirm that it has happened, so now they're not searching anymore. They are now concentrating on a confirmed site, which can be more easily controlled by Vietnam, if it is in Vietnam airspace. If it's in Malaysia airspace, that question does not arise. It looks like quite clearly, because when I look at the inventory of the rescue vehicles, or rather rescue transportation that they're using, they have already narrowed down that the incident or accident took place over water. Because they're not looking on land, anywhere on land. In fact, the aeroplane flies only for, I would say, 20 minutes from KLIA to hit Terengganu, 20 to 25 minutes of land. Then it goes across the ocean before hitting the Vietnamese coast. And I would think, I do not know, I can't be too sure, but I'm very, very certain, I'm quite certain that the area near Ho Chi Minh is positively radar controlled. So if the aeroplane goes inside their airspace, they can see the plane.
Now, but just briefly there, so to help us better understand, so it's over land from KLIA to Terengganu, over water. When they enter Vietnamese space, is it just across the seas from then on, or is that possibility?
The Vietnamese airspace is, and the Malaysian airspace cuts across somewhere in the middle of the sea before going into Vietnam. So what will happen will be, the pilot now will say, I'm coming here, and then the controller will say, okay, call Vietnam control at this particular frequency. The pilot will turn the frequency and introduce himself. Like Vietnam control, Malaysian 370, flying at 35,000 feet. We estimate when they are arriving at the checkpoint. And the other guy says, okay, Roger, we got you identified. That means we have you on radar.
Well, Captain, I apologize. We've actually run out of time. We would love to hear more about what you have to say, and hopefully we might get the chance in the near future. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I understand that we have. We've got more information for you, but first it remains for me to thank you so much, Captain Nick, for being with us. We really appreciate the insights. And again, hopefully we can resume this chat in the coming hours. Thank you again so much.
Really, I wish I can be here under better circumstances.
Indeed, don't we all?
And prayers go to the families.
Indeed, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, our Vietnamese Air Force planes have spotted 2 large oil slicks in the area where the MAS Boeing 777 vanished earlier in the day. The first sign, possibly, that the aircraft carrying 239 people on board had crashed. The Air Force planes were part of a multinational search operation launched after flight MH370 fell off radar screens less than an hour after it took off from Kuala Lumpur, headed for Beijing at 12:41 a.m. A Vietnamese government statement said the slicks were spotted late today off the southern tip of Vietnam and were each between 10 kilometers and 15 kilometers long. There was no confirmation that the slicks were related to the missing plane, but the statement said they were consistent with the kinds that would be produced by the 2 fuel tanks of a crashed jetliners. After the oil slick was spotted, the air search was suspended for the night and was to resume Sunday morning while the sea search is still ongoing. 2/3 of the missing plane's passengers were from China, while others were from elsewhere in Asia, North America, and Europe. MES CEO Ahmad Jawahari Yahya said that there was no indication that the pilots had sent a distress signal, suggesting that whatever happened to the plane occurred quickly and possibly catastrophically.
we are deeply saddened this morning with the news on MH370. Malaysia Airlines confirmed that this flight, MH370, lost contact with Subang Air Traffic Control at 2:40 a.m. this morning. There were 14 nationalities amongst the passengers. Just to go through the detail, China, we have 152 plus one infant. From Malaysia, 38. Indonesia, 12. Australia, 7. France, 3. United States of America, USA, 3 packs plus one infant. New Zealand, 2. Ukraine, 2. Canada, 2. Russia, 1. Italy, 1. Taiwan, 1. Netherlands, 1. And Austria, 1.